Hello everyone, it's Jennifer and thank you for joining me today. I am going to be working with the Artemis, Greek goddess of the hunt, and this is one of the bead mixes from the goddess collection over at the JJB boutique at jessiejamesbeads.com. I will put a link in the description below for this bead mix as well as the bundle packs, and they even have a mega bundle pack. So they released 5 during the summer, then they released another 5 for the winter, and so Jessie James Beads bundled up the 5 for the winter, but then also went a step beyond and bundled all 10. And of course, when they bundle, and it's a discount, and so it is a great deal. I will put a link in the description to the unboxing that I did that included the Greek goddess of the hunt, also the Greek god, or there was another. This one is the Greek goddess of the hunt. Let me look real quick. We also unboxed the Aztec goddess of the agave and the Norse goddess of prophecy. So we unboxed both of those as well. So we did 3 out of the 5. This video here, we are going to be focusing on the Greek goddess of the hunt. We are going to be making first a pair of earrings. Then I have a bracelet that I want to put together. And then I have, I think, 2 necklaces. I think we're going to do 2 necklaces. So this might be a long and lengthy video. If I get to the end and it's too long, I will split it up and break them up. So if you get to this end of this video and all of a sudden I just kind of cut things off, well, there's going to be another video. So either that or I'll just leave it all in one and go from there. The only thing is sometimes getting them uploaded takes forever depending on the length of the video. But I've changed things up on my end to hopefully shorten up the length of time it takes to upload. I'm not recording in 4K anymore. And that, I think, has actually improved the quality of the video, because since I started doing that, I've had a few comments here and there of people saying, hey, whatever you're doing in your video, it looks great. The lighting looks great. Everything's perfect. And all I did was change it from 4K to whatever is recording now. All right, with all that said, I made one of the earrings, and what I'm doing is I'm using those cage beads, and I love those cage beads with the little crystals inside. And then I cut, it was 1.5 inch length of 20 gauge Craftwire from Softflex, and I ended up trimming off 1/2 inch. So I haven't trimmed off the 1/2 inch off this one yet. And the reason why I already did it, because I was testing things out. I had 2 different ways, but this is the winner. So what I did was I just left it blank. I was going to add some stuff, but then I thought, well, I don't want to take away from this gorgeous bead, and I don't want to take away from the cage bead either. So this is what we have. And I absolutely love these. These are mine. So I just love them. And I just added an ear wire. I just did some simple loops. I didn't do any wire wrapping. I just wanted it to be simple and focus on the cage bead and the crystal bead from the mix. And what I did was I just basically made an eye pin. And what I did, I used a 6-stepper, and I used the smallest. And made sure that that would get through. And then I always just find the triangle. So the small triangle, you see how there's large diamond, small triangle, and I go through the top, and I go through both of them. And that's how I normally will have mine hang. And there's just enough wiggle waggle to go around. If you want to make it larger, you can use the 2nd step, or you can even go larger and go an additional steps here, or you can use a small barrel making pliers. The small barrel of the small barrel making pliers is a little bit smaller than the 2nd step. So you have a couple of ideas, or you can simply also just mark up your round nose pliers, which I do on some occasions as well. In this case, I just went ahead and used these. It was quick and easy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my 1/2 inch off of the end here, because I want them to be exactly the same. So I'm going to go And since I'd already put this one on, I had already added this one. And so it was like, oh man, I wanted to show you guys, but you can get the gist of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make myself just a simple loop, and I'm just going to roll around until I feel it hit this side. So now that I have this here where the end is touching that, I'm going to go ahead and just add my chain nose pliers, and then just with a very tippy tip, and then just bend it up to make it centered so that you have a nice centered loop. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we need to make a simple loop here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to work from the spool so that I can try and minimize my waste. I'm going to go ahead and add my bead. Let's go ahead and add it like that. And then I want to make sure I have a good flush cut. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a good flush cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and, oh, I want on the small. So I want on the small barrel. So I'm going to roll away from me. And I'm just going to roll until I feel it hit. Felt it hit. And then I'm going to go ahead and just bend that up. And I do want it to be nice and straight because it's going to need to be straight. It was bent, the loop was just bent over a little bit. So now what I want to do is I want to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so this side here, I want to have that same loop. So I am just going to take my wire here and just bend it over my crystal. And then I'm going to come in and just trim off some. And this is where I will have some waste because I'm not very good at gauging the length. And I used to have a little card, and the card actually was my little measuring tool, and it worked great. And then I don't know what happened to the little card. So the little card is gone. And I feel like this might be a little bit bigger than that one. It's a little different shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off a little bit of this. Just a hair. Because I think I did on that one. I think I made it just a little bit. I made it a little smaller. Okay, so let's just bend it back out that way a little bit. Now go ahead and bring this in. And there we go. It's a little bit more true to what the other side looked like. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up this end because it's easier to open up this one than to open the one with the bead. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up, thread on, and then close up. And when I close up, I want to make sure that that's nice and straight, and that looks straight. And we'll go ahead and take our ear wire and go ahead and open that up and thread that on. Yep, that's right. And there we go. And there we have our pair of earrings. Can't wait to get these all photographed outside. Kind of a little bit, there we go. I need it going this way. I think my loops might be a little off. So let's make sure my loops are going in the same direction. And they aren't completely. I'm going to go ahead and get them going in the same direction and get my bead on there so that it all lays perfectly. And there we go. Beautiful little pair. Not that much waste. I knew I was going to have that because I had initially cut 1.5 inches. So this piece down here is 1 inch. It's 1 inch, and I used the smallest. Then I just worked from the spool and made some simple loops there. So cute, cute, cute. This is exactly what I was wanting. Exactly what I was wanting. So there is project number 1. in the books. Okay, so project number 2. Project number 2 is going to be a necklace. And I am bringing in, I love these tassels. So I'm bringing in one of the tassels, and then I'm going to bring in one of these beads, and then bring in one of these beads. Then what I'm going to do is I have some gold paper clip chain, and this is from Jesse James Beads. And what I'm going to do is we're going to have the side that this gets looped onto, right? We're going to have that going through the chain, okay? So it's going to come around and it's going to look like a lariat, but it's going to be short. It's not going to be a lariat, sort of ish. I'm still going to have a clasp in the back, so it's just going to be a faux lariat. Does that make sense? It's not going to come off and go over your head. So that's what I was thinking, and I thought that that would be really, really cute. And I have all this gorgeous paper clip chain, and Jesse James Beads has this in, you'll see it in silver. I'm going to bring it in. I have some silver, just a little. This is probably 4 or 5 orders of it. And then we're going to go ahead, and I think they have rose gold. I could be wrong. And I thought they had a gunmetal, but we're going to go ahead and use the gold. So the first thing I want to do is I want to build my little centerpiece, and my centerpiece is going to attach directly to the bottom of one end of the paperclip chain. So what I need to do is I need to go get some supplies. I need to get a head pin, and I need to get maybe a little bit of chain. I think what I'll do is I'll grab a little bit of this chain, and this is chain from Chain Reaction. So I think what I'll do is I'll just grab a little length of this on this end, just to drop it down a little bit. And I think that'll be cute. So we'll go ahead and use some of that. I wasn't planning on that. I do have a little piece of 20 gauge left over, so I can use that for up here. And so I need a head pin. I'm going to go grab a head pin and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my head pins. These are Bead-A-Lawn head pins, and I got these from JessieJamesBeads.com. And so what we're going to do for this, it's looking a little busy right now, so let's just kind of scooch things up a little. The first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and make a wire wrap loop for this bead. But what I want to also do is I also want to attach it to the chain, directly to the chain. So I'm going to bust into my Chain Reaction, and I'm probably just going to take this end, and I don't need that much. So if I'm going to, because there's a little loop in there, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that loop, and I feel like I can have it be probably about here. Yeah, it's going to be about here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that little link right there. There's little links in between. So that you don't have to ruin any of the decorative links. They have little jump rings in between. Okay, we're going to go ahead and undo this. We'll see if it's going to be long enough. It should be long enough. Yeah, that'll be long enough. Okay, so now what I want to do, I'm going to wire wrap directly onto the chain here. And let's grab our chain nose pliers. I'm going to go ahead, and I do not want a long neck. I just want to wrap around maybe 3 times. This is a crystal bead, so I don't want it to get too tight. So I'm just going to go ahead and bend it. I'm at the tip, but not the very tippy tip. I go ahead and come in with my round nose pliers. I don't need a large hole or loop. So I'm going to go ahead and go around, rotate my wrist, and push to the back. And then I just need to get that to look a little centered. So it looks a little centered. And I have a little bit of a gap there. So now what I want to do is go ahead and just thread this through. I thought I had a little gap. I'm going to go ahead and use my chain nose pliers to open up this loop just a little bit. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do that. So now we have that directly, which is the most secure way to get links. Okay, so now that I have the tip of my chain nose pliers over my loop, not where the wires are crossing, just over the loop, I just bent it a little bit just to lock it in place. I'm going to bring in a second pair, and these are bent nose pliers. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap around, and I'm going to go around 3 times. I always go around 3 times. When I learned how to do wire wrap loops, I learned you go around 3 times. I want the front to be this side. Okay. And so I always just followed that, and I've never shied away from it. Now, are there times where I accidentally make the neck a little too small? Yes, there's been times that I've done that, and I end up having to go around twice. But then when I make the match to that earring, I have to remember, and it's always a huge mess. Okay, so now I just tuck that in. Now what I want to do is I want to find in these little tassels, it's really neat. I never knew how these were. I stumbled on it one day. I was messing with the loop, and I was messing with the loop, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just an eye pin. And I came down here and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just an eye pin. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come in here. I think, where's the opening? I think the opening's right here. And there's a little pearl in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and come in there, and I'm going to open this up. You probably can't see it. So I'll try this way. I'll go this way so that you can see it. And I just can't see. There we go. So I just open it up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and pass this through. I didn't open it up very well because I was kind of doing it upside down. So let's just try and open it up just a little bit more. Okay. And try and get that through. I've done this so many times since figuring this out, and I love this style. So I do this style often. And yeah, I love it. Okay, so here we have that. Is that kind of cute? Let me see if I can find those earrings that I made. I did. I found them. So this was over the summer, and this is when I found that, oh my goodness, look at that. And so I just took the bead cap off of each of these other 2 and then just re-threaded them and did new loops and then just stacked them. Kind of cute, huh? I think this was over this summer. I don't think it was last summer. I think it was this summer. So now let's just go ahead and do this. I wanted something to kind of flow through. And then I'm going to go ahead and make up another wire wrap loop there, but I have this here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add my bead. And I am going to just come down about an inch or so. Give it a bend, have this 90-degree angle bend. I'm going to come in, and I try to go in between, maybe like halfway between that mark and this one when I'm wanting just a regular size loop. I just want a regular size loop for this one, and that one is pretty centered. So I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. Open it up a little bit like a jump ring. And then pass it through. And then close it up. And then lock it in place. Grab my second pair of pliers and then wrap it around 3 times. Once, twice and 3 times. And this is 20 gauge wire that I'm using. This was an like a scrap from, I think it was from Beadscapade. It's my extra from Beadscapade. I made the butterfly earrings. And what is Beadscapade? That was Nilay Patel from Silver Silk. That was his winter workshop. So I made those last night. There we go. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to do the same thing. However, though, before I wrap this one, I want to add it around there. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is 20 gauge, so I don't want to be at the tippy tip because it's thicker than the 22 gauge. I'm going to come in about halfway, so it's about the same size loop. Form it over. And then go ahead and I let go of it. And I don't like to do that because sometimes it'll distort the shape of the loop. But, you know, when recording, there's always something going on. And not something going on, but you're always at a different angle. For me, I am. I'm always in a different angle when I'm recording than when I'm normally working. Okay, so now I have a hold of that. I'm going to lock it in place. And I just want to make sure that this tip of my chain nose pliers is just going over the loop, and that's it. And I could use my fingers. Yes, I could, but I'm not. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it around. You guessed it, 3 times. Now, if you wanted to add some bead caps, you know, JJB has incredible bead caps, but I am not going to on this one because, again, I don't want to take away from the beads. I don't want to take away from anything. I just want it to be all about the beads. Now I'm going to go ahead and just tuck that in a little bit to finish it off. There we go. And there we have that. Now I have to decide how long I want my necklace. So I will be right back after I determine how long I want my necklace. Okay, so I need to cut it here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right there. And get that removed off. Okay. Then this side, because it's not going to be exactly, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe it is the same. I don't think it's the same. Because, yeah, it's not going to be the same. Actually, I want it to be a little bit, just a little bit less. Maybe like that, because I want the loop. So let me just verify again. Okay, that is right. So it's almost... It is almost the same. It's just about 4 links less. About 4 links less. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want a super long necklace, but I still want that lariat front look, if that makes sense. All right, so what I'm going to do is, this I believe is open. I could be wrong. Yep, it's an open. It's really super thick, but it opens. So I am going to, oh man, that is thick. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and then get it closed up. And look at that. You can hardly tell. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add it here. And so it will sit like this, but then yet it's not going to be too long. And I think it's really hard for me to show you here, but this is how it's going to look. Just like that. So this is where I got the idea. Dang, I mean, the idea for like the little tassel thing that I did over the summer, this little doohickey thing, That I did over the summer, either this summer or last summer, I can't remember. But I saw on Pinterest, I was looking for a cookie recipe, and this really pretty necklace came up, and it was just like this. And when I looked at the back had the clasp, and I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. I dig it. So that's where I got the idea for this, where it will just clasp on. Now, here is the other thing. Now, I have a really good thick jump ring, and this is from Softflex Company, and you can hardly tell where the seam is. I mean, it is incredible. So I am going to attach that, and I'm going to attach it to the side where let's see, what side do I want to put it on? I can put it on, I'm going to go ahead and put it on this side, the side where the dangles are. And here's why I say this, is because with the other side, I can simply shorten up the necklace even more. I feel like I destroyed this. Did I destroy it? No. So with this necklace, so I have this side here, I can have it be the full length, or I can make it shorter. So if I want to make this come around my neck a little bit more and have this scroll down a little bit. So if I want this to be more up around my neck and this to be longer, I can do that. So I like having it adjustable. And if I want to make it even longer, I can go ahead and add some more jump rings in between there at the end as well. Because these jump rings, I do not like using jump rings, open jump rings for closures, but these are really, really good. And they've never failed me. So here we have our little necklace. And again, you can make it adjustable. And I am using the paper clip chain. This is from Jesse James Beads. This here is something I've had for a really long time, and I only have 2 more of these. And so I'm really sad because I really like those and I don't know where they came from. But so there we have this project already done. There we go. So we have a pair of earrings and we have a necklace. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring out my bracelet. So my bracelet I've already strung up. And now that I think about it, I do not have my crimp tubes. Yes, I do. I do have my crimp tubes. And so I just remembered I do have my crimp tubes. Let me grab it all. I don't really have my crimp tubes, but I do have my Jesse James Beads Wire Findings box in silver. And there's some crimp tubes. I guess I had some beading wire in there too. But I went ahead and grabbed my Softflex Econoflex, which I really like. It's a 49 strand. This I got Walmart.com. All right. A little 2x2 crimp tubes come in there. But I really like this Econoflex. It's 49 strand and it is a little sturdy. It's not like the Extreme Flex, but it's what I'm looking for with this bracelet. And what I did was I strung on, again, this is from the same bead mix. I strung on one of the leaf or feather spacers, one of the cube beads, boho bead, 3 of these drop beads, and then one of these spacers again, 3 of the drop beads, and a boho bead, a cube bead, and one of the leaf or feather spacers. Okay, so you look at that and you're like, that's only probably about 4 inches. Yeah, you're right. I don't even think it is 4 inches. Let me see how much it is. But again, the beads are thick and take up some of that real estate. And actually it is 4.5 inches. But on my wrist, it's probably not like that at all. So what I'm going to do is to extend the length out a little bit, what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in some chain reaction. I couldn't get that spit out, but I just don't know which one I want to use yet. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to snip those off just like that and use those links. And the more and more I thought about it, I thought, well, maybe I want a couple of links so that it's a little bulky. So if I were to add the 4.5 and then add this length here, so I have this length, let's see how much it is. From here to there, because I'm actually going to cut at the bead because I will use the beads for wire wrapping, and so then I'll use the little link that's on there. So that is about 2¼ inches, which is perfect. Then I have a toggle clasp, and that's what we're going to do. So it's going to be a little bit lopsided, but what we're going to do is we are going to use some of this chain to make up the rest of the link. So let's go ahead and bust into this. And what I like to do is, if I'm not going to use this, because you can very simply take this chain reaction, undo this right here, or take this off either at the rondelle or at the link, and then add a lobster clasp to one side. This is a very secure split ring, and you can call it a necklace, and that's absolutely perfect. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and use this. I'm going to kind of chop it off. So I'm going to go ahead and at the link, at the rondelle, I mean. So I went ahead and cut the rondelle. So now I will use the rondelle in something else and wire wrap. I'm going to do the same thing with this rondelle. Okay, so now I have that. I just realized I'm going to need some jump rings, and I think I have some here. All right, so I have another rondelle, and then for this one, this side, I can go ahead and undo, which I guess I won't be able to use a link because there's no link on this side. All right, that's going to bug me. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut off this side, because what I'm going to use this for, any other project, I can use those links. All right. Okay, so let's get the ones that have all the, and what I'm talking about is that there's a link, but then there's like a little jump ring. And that last one, the one that I already cut, didn't have it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this off to the side. Get our little messies away. And what I want to do is, when you're thinking about where your toggle is going to go, you need to think about how it's going to be passing through. So if I were to try and pass my toggle, meaning this, through this here, if it was right up against it, it would not work. So what I need to do is I need to string this on this side, and then on this side, it's going to be the chain, and then I can, let's see, no, this is going on this side. So this link is going on this side because this is where the bar is going to pass through. And the bar needs to have, what's ever connected to the bar needs to be thin enough to be able to go through that loop. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to add our wire directly onto here, but I need some wire guardians, and I see them. I'll be right back. And I feel like I got my wire guardians from Jessie James Beads, but I could be wrong. All right, so I'm working from the spool, and the reason why I'm working through this from the spool is so I can minimize some waste. All right, so now we have the plan. I'm gonna go ahead and take our crimp tube first, and I guess I'm gonna need some standard crimping pliers. Go ahead and get that through there. I know it'll go. And I know that this wire is very sturdy, but I still like to use a wire guardian just to protect it. Now on this side, I can go directly onto there. And on the other side, I guess I can too. It just depends. I just have to look to see if it's going to be going in the right direction. All right, so when I look at this here, this toggle, with not having my wire guardian kind of pinched in a little bit, it will roll around over here on the wire, which that's why I have the wire guardian. So what I like to do, I'm grabbing my standard crimping pliers, I like to take the front notch, because if you look at that front notch is a little rounded. So I like to take that front notch and just close it off. Well, let's get a little bit of a better grip there. I like to close it off just because I do not want that roaming around over here in this wire. Then it gives me a little bit more real estate on my, for my bracelet. So I'm gonna go ahead and come in and I'm gonna put my crimping pliers in the back. Want to make sure in the back notch, I want to make sure that my wires are not crossing, and make sure that's in there, and it's not. So there we go. Okay, go ahead and give it a little bit of a squeeze. And what that first squeeze does is it separates the two wires, makes a little moon shape. And so when you see on one side where it crimped on the tube, you made kind of like a little tiny tube. That's one side of the wire. And then this other side, which is another little bit of a tube because it's pinched in the middle, has the other side of the wire. So now I'll go ahead and just crimp that off, and that is nice and secure. Now, what you might want to do is some people will cut right down at the base there. For me, I don't like to do that all the time, and here's why. I want that to sit on there centered, and if I cut the wire, then it's going to be off-centered because it's going to have one wire coming out of one side and not the other, right? So then what I do is I don't want this to come, I also don't want this to come out, right? So I'm going to come down just a little bit, and I'm probably going to come a little bit more than half so that I know that if I have a little bit of slack in my bracelet, that it's still not going to come out. And again, the only reason why I do this is because I want my bead to sit centered on this little, on this crimp tube. That's it. There's no security. There's nothing. That's all. And I don't think it's right, but at the same time, I don't know. Yeah. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we have these little links here. And what I need to do is I need to get them onto a little bit of a jump ring. So let me grab an itty bitty jump ring. And I do have an itty bitty one. It's kind of itty bitty. And I think it'll go around there. Not sure. Let's see. This might be too itty bitty. And I really like these jump rings even. Oh no, it went somewhere. How many times has this happened to you guys? So I had some other chain nose pliers and they were just, and I loved them at first because they're nice and padded and they're really cool, but they wouldn't hold my, they wouldn't hold like my jump rings or anything. Okay, so let's see if it fits in there. Oh, it does. And it fits in there really easily. All right, so we're gonna use this little guy. And again, he's tiny, but he is mighty. Okay, so let's go ahead and open him up. And then we're gonna, oh, that's kind of, what happened? That looks like, that looks like a, oh, you know what that is? Oh my goodness. That is the part of the wire wrap loop from the rondelle. Okay. So sorry. Okay. I'm sneaking in some more recording because I'm back to being by myself just for a little bit, and thought I would sneak in some more. And what did I want to sneak in? I wanted to sneak in these projects because these projects are going to get worn this week. Okay, let's make sure, do the little fingernail test. Perfect. Okay, so then for this side, all right, so now I have that. And then I'll do it on the other side too. So let me grab another jump ring. Keep them close by in case it gets away. And I might need two. And again, these are small, but they are really, really good. I have a bigger one too. That one's even thicker. Okay. So now what I want to do is I am going to just go ahead and trim this off. And I need, you know, enough room so that I can do my little bit of dangling, right? Now, this isn't going to go all around my wrist like this. So I don't need to do this to check out the loosey-goosey or however I'm going to do this. It is going to go a little more than half. So, and I want it to be nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my crimp tube. I'm going to add my wire guardian. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pass that back through. And yes, this is a tiny little piece. I could have probably done it a little bit longer. I actually probably should have, so I could pass it all the way through. Because I'm not going to be able to pass it all the way through, probably. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so now let's go ahead and grab our little guy here. We want to make sure that we're grabbing the jump ring. Okay, and we did. We grabbed the jump ring and pass that through, and that does move around pretty well. Then we're going to go ahead and pass that through. So I don't advise this unless you're, you know, I mean, I did get it all the way through. So if you want to push it all the way through, you can. If you want to do that, I would probably cut a little bit more off, but yeah, I wasn't forward thinking very well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm pinching that, and I'm making it pretty tight because I don't want it to be loosey-goosey. And then I went ahead and already joined the two ends of my wire guardian. So now I'm just holding on to that little tiny piece. And let's go ahead and crimp down and then turn on its side and crimp again. When we do the tug test, I cannot do my tug test on this fingernail anymore. Look how much it's split. It's split all the way down. I tug test way too much, but I have to. Okay, so I need to go as close as I can. There we go. And again, I know some people probably don't go that route with crimping, but I've done it. I love it. And yeah, you'll see other ways out in the world, and that's okay. That's okay. So my way isn't the only way. All right. Let's go ahead and open up this jump ring, and you can hear it. It has that locking mechanism, and I want to make sure that these aren't going to be all twisted. So I'm just kind of lining them up and lining them up. Oops. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my bar. And let's get this closed up. And it locked in place again. And then now, so what I meant by passing through is if you were to pass through and have this bead, it wouldn't pass through. So by using this piece as where your bar is, you don't have to add a bunch of jump rings, which you would need to add a bunch of jump rings, which I do if I'm not using the chain or what so. So you'll add a bunch of jump rings. Then I wanted it tight because I wanted these to stay just like this. And so now we have a gorgeous little bracelet. This is exactly what I wanted. So there we go there. Now, I had one more project, but I am going to cut it short and just leave it with these 3. So we have a bracelet. We have kind of a matching-ish pair of earrings. Okay. And then we have our little lariat necklace, but has the clasp on the back to make it adjustable. So we have these 3 pieces. Again, this is probably super long, and we are using the Greek goddess of the hunt. This is Jesse James Beads. This is their JJB boutique and one of their 5 new goddess collection bead mixes. So be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up if you like it. Comment. I love to see what everybody has to say, and subscribe. And until next time, have a good one.